Right now I want to move into AVSAT. Who is familiar with AVSAT? Anybody? AVSAT is what Audio Vault uses to automate itself. Trying to think. I think that's the best way to explain it. So let me pull it up and
the
then
programming schedule for.
Yeah. So it uses a playlist to run. We generate PowerNet here locally, which is a source that you guys have available to you. It's what AM radio used to be. Now it's just PowerNet. I think the only place you can listen to PowerNet is on 360, and then if you have AFN cable, it's one of those extra channels. Yeah, it's a bunch of talk radio, sports talk, and NPR. But I'll tell you, if NPR isn't playing at the right time, we'll get a phone call real quick. When K-Town got rid of the AM, I went to the dentist. He's like, "Where's my AFN? I've been listening to it for like 20 years." I'm like, "Well, it's available on the internet." This man, I mean, he's like 70. He looked at me like, he goes, "I can't listen to the internet in my car." Point taken. Yeah. But anyway, the only reason I'm saying that is because Server B is what we actually automate PowerNet on. So this playlist, we'll start at the beginning. You load your playlist. This one is called PN-Control-Tuesday because it's Tuesday and it's PowerNet. And I don't remember what the control stood for. But on your AVSAT, you should be running Eagle Monday, Eagle Tuesday, or whatever. The ones you guys are currently running, I programmed. So if you have a problem with that, let me know. There's two theories of the Eagle. Sorry, I'm tangenting a little bit, but there's two theories of the Eagle playlist. One is complete automation. And that means at the top of the hour, it cuts to an indicator for AP radio news. It does it itself. The other theory is let the DJ do it. That way, if he talks a little bit too long, he can cut over when he wants. AP radio news is already fired. It's not like you're going to trigger AP radio news. So either way, either your voice is getting cut off if you're not back timed right, or AP radio news is getting cut off. Either way. What we're gravitating toward, I believe, is going to be one playlist every day of the week. The same thing. It's just the Eagle all the time with spots. And then your DJ will override that. Say, okay, I'm live, forward to transmitter, and I'm not taking AVSAT. The problem with that is the Eagle is what you're using through AVSAT is what you're using to get your Q-tones. So if you're bypassing that for 12 hours a day, you're not getting Q-tones for 12 hours a day, right? So what Ellison and I came up with was, well, since we're not doing AM anymore, we'll use the second tone decoder, run the Eagle through that all the time, and use that to get your time. That way you can go board to transmit and it doesn't affect anything. So until operations figures out what they want to do with this playlist, whether we're going to go automation or we're going to have complete DJ control, those things are subject to change a little bit. If the good thing about the single playlist is if your DJ is hungover or he sleeps in, he doesn't show up. You don't get 20 seconds of silence at 6 a.m. because there's nobody there to go board to transmit. It just keeps playing the Eagle. Or, if somebody's sick or for whatever reason they can't do a show, the audience never hears that silence. So that's sort of one of the benefits of that. The downside is when the DJ has total control over when they're live, then they can decide when they're going to do a show and not. They're not held to the fire by a playlist. But anyway, getting into the playlist. So you always want to make sure, you have a playlist running. And I know that sounds really elementary, but I have logged into stations and there was no playlist running. So the way the playlist works, at 11:59:50, it aligns to move over to the next day. So your playlist starts really right at midnight. And then you see here, it says indicator 8. So indicator 8 means a satellite source that is identified through the INI to be indicator 8. In our case, it's the 8th satellite source, and it should be the same at yours. I think it's NPR. So the playlist says, okay, at 4 a.m., play indicator 8. This alignment code, so if you're following the playlist, it'll drop down. You'll have a black line here, and it'll say, okay, I'm ready. I'm aligned. When the time comes at 4 a.m. and it gets the Q tone, it says, okay, yes, it's 4 a.m., AVSAT will switch your route in Axia to send channel or indicator 8 to your transmitter. And then at 6 a.m., it says, okay, it's going to be indicator 10. So instead of you manually switching, I want this one here, I want that one here, AVSAT does that for you. That's all AVSAT does, is it automates switching channels. So PowerNet, all it is it's like four different indicators that change depending on what time of day. So at like 10 o'clock, I think Mike and Mike come on ESPN radio, which is on clutch. So PowerNet plays that for a couple hours, and then it switches to NPR. That's all it does. But part of this playlist, using this is bad. Bad example. You guys have all seen spots, right? Mm-hmm. You've got your spot 60 cart, your spots 120 cart. Mm-hmm. Well, that's where your local CI is. So the way it works is at the top of the hour, you're supposed to get two different Q tones. Who knows what those two tones?
1 and 2.
1 and 2, right? Okay. What does 1 do?
1 is for as far as the spots and everything.
Right.
Like that.
And 2 is
the time.
2 is time, right? So you should never see in your trace log. You should never see an 8. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Man, I want to see.
What's 3?
3. Right now, you shouldn't be seeing 3s.
You should look. There's a book
see
that
lots
tells
of
you
3s.
For those tone decoders, you can look up what each of those tones mean.
Yeah. The well.
What time is it right now? 9:36. Is
Yeah.
there a way that you can remote in? Because our radio show's over, live show's over in the morning. You can look at our.
Yeah. No, I'd have to go to my desk because my little remote program is on there.
Okay.
But I wanted to show you. Let's see. I wonder if he'll let me do it. Yeah. All right. So Eagle Tuesday. See, this is the. Man, there is no. We don't do a local show, so we don't have. There's some spot stuff. Okay. So this X right here on the far left means that command got executed properly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you're looking and it's like, okay, well, it's 9 o'clock and I have no X's, nothing's happening with your playlist. It's not functioning right. This alignment code, so Q is supposed to come in at 15 after the hour, at 30, at 45, and then again on the hour. But because timing isn't always perfect with the Qs, we align, which alignment means stand by, wait for a command. It's like a preparatory command from Audio Vault. So we set it up to start looking for that command at 5:14. And then these little dots right here are placeholders. So at 5 a.m., it executes this command. It loads indicator 1, which is the eagle. This normal mode means it's looking for cues. Blank mode means ignore cues. So if you're doing a radio remote, you would want to go in and change this line of code and say blank, because you don't want cues coming in and switching your sources, because you're supposed to be in control. Again, with the board to transmit, it sort of it bypasses AVSAT. It's not as critical anymore. But what
Is this for the remote situation? Is that if there's only one person on the remote kit in the field and no one's in the studio?
No, if I'm all right. So we were just talking about that. You should have a DJ in the studio.
Yeah.
And they should be running all the music and everything like that. So if my playlist is controlling what's going to my transmitter, like I'm in AVSAT to transmitter mode, and I think indicator 11 is studio,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm in indicator 11, because I'm live and it's Saturday, and I'm set for normal, when a cue comes in, it could change that source from 11 to 1 to take like AP radio news. Well, during a remote, you're not supposed to be doing AP radio news, right? So you want to change this line here to blank. That way it ignores cue tones.
Because I've never messed with this at all. Like, and whenever
Your
our DJs,
operator should. I always did it as tech
Okay.
services.
'cause I don't know if
I
they
don't
do
know
that.
any operator other than one that knows how to do a playlist.
Well, I have
but
son Calhoun.
according to the
He's-
playbook, it's
he's like
supposed to be an operator.
He's like a, he's like a dude that can figure stuff out. Like,
Okay.
he has a kind of an engineer's mind, but he's a
A
DJ.
broadcaster.
So,
That happens.
but it kind of runs into some issues if he tries to mess with stuff that he's not supposed to.
Yeah.
But
Well,
like,
then
for the
fine.
most
What
part,
would
he's
you have?
good.
So are they not supposed to play the news? Because we always play the news whenever we're doing remotes. If they're not supposed
No,
to, I'm
they're
sure
not.
they.
They
They're not
should
supposed to
Yeah.
be playing the news.
Yeah,
no.
they go to the news all the time. In fact, that's part of our.
I think
Ours
ours
That
do.
is-
I think ours
they're
do,
supposed
too.
to cut to you. There's not supposed to be any news. I don't think you're even supposed to have like generic spots or anything.
No,
Every
no
break
spots.
should be the remote. That's an operations decision. So I would clear it with your ops manager. But whoever's in charge of your ops, which is probably your station manager, unless you're a bigger affiliate, they report to Mr. Vadness. So whatever he says you're supposed to do is what you should be doing.
So we shouldn't really worry about it. It's
Yes
them.
and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. So the better answer is that it should be something that you should review with your station manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically take these notes from this conference
Right.
and say, well, look, this is what we were talking about at the conference.
Right.
They have the Eagle playlist,
Yep.
and they have all these documents that tell them how they're supposed to operate, and then confer that
Right.
to make sure that y'all all on the same page. So you know what the schedule is going to be in case something happens. Because that's the question. The point is that if something happens on a remote, you know as a technician what it should be.